Hi, welcome back. Do you reckon you could solve this equation where we have the square root of a divided by 2a equals to 10? And I want you to solve for a. So if you feel like you could do this, feel free to pause the video, quickly have a bit of a go, and put a comment in the comment section with your answer, and we'll go through it in a second. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've had a bit of a go. Let's see if you are correct. So let's try solve this. So let's just get rid of this so we have a bit of space. So step one is to move this 2a across to this side. And it's a divide on the left-hand side. So when you move it to the right, it becomes the opposite. We multiply. Another way to think of this is we're trying to get rid of this 2a, which means you're going to multiply both sides by 2a, which would get rid of that. So I like to think of it as moving it across because it just makes a bit more sense for me, but they're pretty much the same thing. So let's do that. So on the left-hand side, you're just left with root a, and your right-hand side will now become 10 multiplied by 2a. And 10 multiplied by 2a is 20a. So we've got root a equals to 20a. Now we want to get rid of the square root. So what we're going to do is square both sides. And that gets rid of the square root on the left-hand side. So we're just left with a, and 20a squared is basically 20a times 20a. So 20 times 20 is 400. A times a is a squared. Okay, let's make everything equal to 0. So we're going to bring that to that side. So we've got 0 equals to 400a squared minus a. Or 400a squared minus a equals to 0. Now, can we factorize this? Well, we could take out a as a factor, and you're left with 400a minus 1 equals to 0. Now, using the null factor, either that factor equals to 0 or that equals to 0. Because when you've got two things that multiply to give you 0, one of them has to equal to 0. Now, so we've already got one solution here, and if you rearrange this one, 400 a, we're going to move that neg 1 across. So 400a equals to 1, and a equals 1 on 400. Perfect. So we have two solutions. So let's check if they would work. So my first solution, a equals to 0, if I substitute that back into here, I'm going to have 2 times 0 on the denominator. And you can't divide by 0. And this would be the square root of 0. So you basically would have 0 divided by 0 equals to 10. And 0 divided by 0 you can't do, and it doesn't equal to 10, it's nonsense. So a equals to 0 is not a real solution. So we need to reject that solution. So let's reject that. Okay, what about let's check if a can equal 1 on 400. So this is the beautiful thing about maths. You could usually always check your work, check your answers. So let's rewrite the equation again. So you had root a on 2a. And we want to know, does it equal to 10? Okay, so root a, and a is 1 on 400. So we would have root 1 on 400 divided by 2 times 1 on 400 equals to 10. Okay, so my numerator is just root 1 on 400, and I'll write this out as a divide. And we have 2 times 1 on 400, which would just be 2 on 400. So remember, if you've got square root of a fraction, you could just split that up into root the numerator, root the denominator. So we could do that for this part. So that would just be root 1 on root 400. And then we still have this divide. 2 on 400. And remember, we want to know if this equals to 10. So square root of 1 is just 1. Square root of 400. So another rule you remember, if you've got two factors, you could just split that. So root 400 could be split to root 4 and root 100, because 4 times 100 is 400. Root 4 is 2, root 100 is 10, so it's going to be 2 times 10, which is 20. So we could just say 1 on 20. And then when you're dividing fractions, you could actually flip the second fraction around, and that would be times, and then you'll just flip this around. And that would be 400 on 2. 400 divided by 2 is 200. And so we just have 1 on 20 times 200 on 1. And then you can just do numerator on numerator over denominator on denominator. And that leaves me with 200 on 20, which is the same as saying 20 on 2, which does equal to 10. Our left-hand side does equal to the right-hand side. So we know that A equals to 1 on 400 is the right solution. Well done if you got that correct. That was fairly tricky, but very fun to do. Hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.